The Health Chat with Oborne Health Supplies is a conversational style podcast bringing you the stories behind dynamic, innovative and trending brands in the natural health space. Join our hosts, Rick Hay and me, Vicky Tsoleridis, for an informative conversation with guests that are passionate about natural health and create products making a difference to the lives of many. The Health Chat, bringing you the story behind your favourite brands. Hello and welcome to the Health Chat. I'm your host, Vicky Tsoleridis, and today I'm joined by Dione Promm, the Head of Science and New Product Development at Melrose Health. Thank you for joining us today, Dion.
Thanks for having me, Vicky. Pleasure to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited because I love this area that we're going to touch on. Melrose have got, in the last 6 months, Melrose have brought out some amazing products. There's a couple of new delivery systems that Melrose have brought out, and I know you've been a huge part of. And I'd love to talk about the Liposomal range and the Melrose Origins range, or the nose to tail range of products. So let's start with the Origins range, and that's like the beef liver and the nose to tail products.
Thanks, Vicky. Yeah, so we're super proud of both of these ranges. Melrose is definitely taking a completely new direction to where it has been, and we're wanting to be, synonymously known for our innovation. The nose to tail range has been, or the Origin range has been something that I've worked on very closely personally. So we believe that we should look at whole foods as our primary source of nutrition. So I myself am a nutritionist and a naturopath, and I've always believed in eating whole foods and whole food sources to get my nutrition. So there's been quite a lot of, awareness towards consuming organ meats as part of our daily nutrition. We know that ancestrally we would eat the entire animal, which, is really important to prevent, wastage for a start. But we also know that by consumption of some of these other less desirable pieces of meat, we have found that nutritionally we're at an advantage because, organs such as liver and kidneys contain a plethora of nutrients that is not contained within other bits of, say the muscle. So we know that they're quite healthy and beneficial. However, from a sensory perspective, some people don't enjoy it. There's some great traditional recipes like steak and kidney pie, etc., that our grandparents may have used and put together, but I think it's today's 21st century, modern Western diet, we don't tend to eat that way anymore. So there's seeming to be a bit of a resurgence or, interest in going back to our roots of ways of eating, because we recognise that those nutrients are now devoid in our diet. So what we've tried to do is produce a product that will add, consumer convenience. So you can consume the product encapsulated. So has it worked? You've got one. Here's one I prepared earlier. We know that, you can consume the product this way. So it's freeze dried, which preserves all of the nutrients without any degradation. Everything stays intact, and then we process and encapsulate the product. So you can basically just have a couple of capsules a day and you're getting the same benefits as what you would if you were to put a sauce in a meal, and you can have it as often as you want, daily or a couple of times a week, which would have been sort of traditional to what our ancestors would have consumed these organ meats.
That's really interesting, because growing up, we didn't have the luxury of just buying an eye fillet every week. We didn't grow up like that. I do recall my parents buying the entire lamb or the sheep or the cow and then taking it to a butcher and, they'd portion it off and we'd put it in the deep freeze. But we had to eat every molecule of that animal. And, I grew up enjoying organ meats quite a lot, but I did notice that I had far more energy the next day or the few days after consuming organ meat. So there's a lot to be said about the nutrient profile of these things. And when I think back a decade ago, or even a bit more, there were some really big players in the market that had these multis, like a men's multi, a women's multi, and take one capsule a day and it provides you with everything that you need. But I feel there's a shift now and people are going towards these whole foods, as you said, be it in a vegan source or a non-vegan source. And so I'm wondering, how does the nutrient profile compare to something like those multis that we would see in a few years ago?
Definitely. It's a great question, Vicky. So on face value, you look at the nutritional panel of, say, a whole food source, like an organ meats, or even some of our, wonderful superfoods that we use that are plant-based, versus something that's been synthetically produced in a laboratory, and the doses don't look comparable. So we know that artificially synthesized vitamins are quite cost-effective. It's easy to get really high doses in formulations. So, for example, vitamin C, you can easily get 1,000 milligrams into a tablet, as an example. If you were to take the equivalent in something like Acerola, you would need to have a very, very large tablet to pull that together, and it'd be very costly. However, we do know that absorption of many nutrients in whole food forms is much more effective than synthetic vitamins. That's why these biotech companies spend so much time and energy on trying to find the most potent, improved delivery system for these nutrients. So the minerals, take, magnesium as an example. How much innovation has there been around improving the bioavailability of magnesium in a dietary supplement? Purely because we know that these laboratory synthetic versions, although they have their place, just don't tend to absorb as effectively as what it does in its whole food form.
So I remember we had a chat once and you were talking about the absorption of iron specifically. Could you just briefly let us know a bit about that research? Because that's really fascinating, and it's changed the way that I even dose my teenage daughter. I've moved away from one type of supplement purely to this Origins range. So I'll let you talk about it because it's quite good research.
Yeah, definitely. So we know that iron tends to be a challenging nutrient for absorption for many individuals. One of the main reasons for that is within the gastrointestinal tract, many of these inorganic or even organic forms that are synthesized in a laboratory again tend to cause gastrointestinal discomfort. And again, a lot of research has been going into trying to improve that. But we look at consumption of heme iron, so animal protein iron, and we have seen through scientific data and clinical trials that someone consuming a piece of red meat several times a week will actually increase their iron storage more effectively than someone potentially taking something like a ferrous fumarate form of iron. So that has been seen and proven, and we, anecdotally, so this is not with gold standard clinical evidence data, but anecdotally, there's a lot of consumers that are finding that their iron storage is improving significantly from taking liver capsules, or consuming liver. The heme form of iron actually found present in high value in beef liver is very bioavailable and is well absorbed. And we're hearing anecdotal evidence that consumers are able to raise their iron stores far more effectively using beef liver than they can using the synthetic supplements that are available in the market, and without those side effects. So there's definitely a really, really strong case for considering beef liver for those individuals that just can't get their iron stores up.
And so I have a question then surrounding, because how some children, especially when they're like, let's say when they start to consume food. So we'll talk about that 6 months to 12 months age group. How do you feel about using a little bit of these liver capsules, just a little bit sprinkled in with their food and mixing it through and feeding it to them? Because I know there is some iron concerns around that age population.
Yeah, definitely. So again, it's a whole food form. There's, a lot of historical use of consuming liver for children. Like I know ancestrally, or with my cultural background as well, that was given to us when we were that age. So given that I have full confidence that it's a very safe and efficacious source of beef liver, like it's grass-fed. We know that there's no environmental contaminants at all that the organs of the animals are being exposed to, because we do all analytical testing of all the products. So I would feel very comfortable sprinkling a little bit and giving it to a child. In fact, I'm giving it to my 3-year-old now to help support his well-being, because he is a little bit of a particularly fussy eater. So I add it to a smoothie and he doesn't even notice it. The freeze-drying process really takes out a lot of the sensory component, which is fantastic. But yes, I certainly think that's certainly safe. And I would much prefer, as a whole food purist, to give that to a child, especially as they're introducing solids, than I would be to be putting, fortified rice meal, which is, Pharax, the traditional product that is being recommended now for children to get their iron levels up.
So you mentioned something really interesting about the grass-fed and the contaminants that these animals are exposed to. Now, there may be some concerns with, our audience saying, well, I'm a little bit worried about consuming an organ meat, because usually the liver and the kidneys are associated with detoxifying the body, and maybe some of these contaminants are stored in these organs. And I was hoping you could touch a bit about the reassurance that we could give customers. And you talked about it briefly, but I think that's an important point, because I feel that's where people have the most hesitation when it comes to consuming this.
Yeah, I agree with you, Vicky. And look, I have also had that same concern myself. So when we started the development process of these products, we spent a lot of time and money actually on conducting analytical testing of the product to ensure, one, that the source was what our supplier, told us it was. Two, to make sure there were no environmental contaminants or known heavy metals or other, compounds that are known to be detrimental to human consumption before we actually put it into a commercialized product. And I guess finally, just making sure that the product is healthy and efficacious. So, and contained all the nutrients that, we're supposedly believing that these organ meats contain. So looking at all that information prior to going to, commercial launch really provided me with a lot of reassurance. So we tested all the contaminants that cattle could be exposed to. So we're talking about pesticides and herbicides that could be sprayed on adjacent farms. So like your glycophosphates, etc. And there were no present traces at all in any of the products. So I thought that was quite interesting. The nutrient profile was much higher than I expected. So when I looked at some of the databases that we have access to see what the composition would be of say vitamin D and B vitamins as an example in the organ meats, the values actually were slightly higher than what the standard was. And I suspect that's purely because of the source of where we're getting our product from. So we're getting our product from Tasmania at the moment. We're also looking at supply from New Zealand, but all pasture-raised, fodder raised. So there's no grain fed to these animals. So and they're obviously in a beautiful environment where they're not being exposed to contaminants like perhaps some other cattle maybe or livestock maybe. So I think that also plays a bit of a part. These animals are very well, they're very healthy. So naturally, they're not storing large amounts of contaminants within their detoxification organs. And look, think of detoxification organs as just like a temporary vehicle to hold contaminants. They're organs that process those, but they don't necessarily store contaminants. So, and that's been seen from our clinical results when we've sent product off for testing. So that provides a little bit of reassurance, but every single batch that we produce, we test. So there will never be a batch where there could be trace amounts of contaminants, because we won't allow it. We've got a very, very strict guideline of what we will let go through because it's really important to us that the product is safe. We've set those guidelines with the supplier. So if it doesn't meet those requirements, we send it back and we don't have to accept the stock.
Look, Melrose has been around a long time. It's a very trusted company and brand. So I believe that there is strict guidelines that Melrose would follow and not allow certain things to get into the marketplace. But I was just wondering, any of these cattle fed antibiotics or have anything like that given to them? Or are these, when we say pasture raised, does that mean that we're eliminating the antibiotics?
Yeah, so the suppliers assured us that they're not using antibiotics routinely with any of the animals that we're receiving stock from. If there is obviously an animal that is unwell, then they may provide antibiotics to that animal, but they wouldn't be considered appropriate for consumption for organ meats, or not at least for the human supply chain. They might do so for the animal supply chain.
Understood. Now, there are 4 in the range. I've got them here on my desk. So there's a women's replenish and there's a men's optimal, and very briefly, and there's an energy and wellbeing and then a nose start. I just want you to briefly touch on the formulations for each of those because it's very interesting.
It is. So these concepts were actually the brainchild of Nathan Chong, our CEO, who's also a naturopath and very well known in the industry. He's been around a very long time. He's very passionate about whole foods and the nose to tail movement. So to start, our beef liver capsules, which is our energy and wellbeing multi. So it's a bit of a all-rounder. So it contains just 100% pure beef liver encapsulated in a gelatin capsule, and that's it. There's no other excipients at all. So it's very, very clean. So that's our, I guess, what we believe to be like a good entry point for anyone that's just wanting to dip their toe in and try these. For a starting point, it will be nutritious for virtually anyone. Then we have our women's multi combination, has beef liver, beef cartilage, Australian beef heart, and gelatin. So this formula has sort of been pulled together to support women's health specifically. But this particular combination, obviously the liver has a nice range of B vitamins and iron. Then the beef cartilage is a great source of collagen and hyaluronic acid naturally occurring. So great for encouraging healthy, beautiful skin, hair and nails. It has the beef heart, which is a great source of coenzyme Q10, and it contains quite a number of other trace minerals as well. And then obviously CoQ10 is quite beneficial for the health of our cell reproduction, for energy levels, but also for our eggs, our egg quality. So then we have the nose to tail multivitamin, which is, again, a bit of a combination formulation, all-rounder. So this particular product contains, again, the liver. It contains the beef heart. It has kidney, which is a great source of DAO, which is an enzyme that helps to break down histamine. Sheep brain, which has quite a lot of other nutrients, specifically your omegas. And that's it in a non-excipient base. So it's just literally the organs ground up and in a gelatin capsule.
I actually take that one.
Do you? It's a good formula.
Yeah, it's a very good formula.
And then our men's multi, which contains the beef liver, controversially has Australian beef testicles. The product actually contains naturally occurring hormones, sex hormones, and then also quite a lot of CoQ10 as well. Beef heart, as I already talked to, and then again, just pure product, just encapsulated.
Excellent. They're an amazing range, and I'm sure they'll do really well. I love the packaging. Like I said, I take it, my husband takes it, and my 13-year-old daughter takes it. So excellent formulations. Thanks so much for giving us some knowledge about it, because it is a range that does need a bit of exposure in Australia just to talk about the pros of this product. And then I thought we could move into the liposomal range, if you're okay with that, because it's
Definitely
so exciting. And I
is.
did some research in the liposomal delivery space, how it's been around like since the 60s and 70s, but mainly in the pharmaceutical area. But it's having quite a resurgence in our natural health industry space. And I wanted to know more about the direction. Why did Melrose decide to go down this path? So, let us know. What's the thought process behind liposomals?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So definitely liposomals are starting to take the industry by storm. So I guess one of the reasons why we've looked at it is we're very passionate about ensuring that products are efficacious at Melrose. So we know that a lot of there's a lot of, I guess, negative press around the bioavailability and the value of consuming dietary supplements, specifically from, I guess, the allopathic medicine field. And look, I don't disagree with some of their arguments. They say why take such high doses of vitamins when they don't do anything? They're expensive, causes expensive urine. And look, to some degree, there are some ingredients that we know are notorious for being poorly absorbed, especially in high doses. So the good thing about liposomals is they improve bioavailability, so the amount of the molecule that is absorbed to reach systemic circulation, as well as absorption itself. So improving the way it actually gets into systemic circulation. So we know that vitamin C is a particularly well-known, poorly absorbed nutrient. So as soon as you take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, or anything over 180 milligrams in one sitting, 50% of it is completely lost and excreted via the renal system. So when you look at that, and you know that vitamin C is an amazing nutrient that can be acutely dosed in high doses for a number of conditions, so things like viral infections to help reduce the viral load and the replication, for inflammation, so soft tissue damage and trauma. We know it's amazing for rhinitis, and obviously many other conditions we know that vitamin C is great for. So having the ability to have a really high dose of vitamin C can be quite pertinent in a number of circumstances. We know that you can put vitamin C into an IV drip, which is super popular at the moment, and you can get, I guess, that fast delivery straight to the bloodstream, bypassing the gastrointestinal tract, and you can get great efficacious results. However, not everyone has the money to be able to sign up and get a $3,000 to $1,000, so $300 to $1,000 IV drip on a daily basis, because you need to have it daily in order to get some of the benefits, specifically if you're trying to treat a condition. So that's where, I guess, liposomals come in. So liposomals are not a new technology, as you said. It's been used in the pharmaceutical world for quite a long time. First discovered in the 70s. They used it to improve the bioavailability and delivery of morphine. It's been used quite extensively in the topical skincare world for quite some time. So a lot of your retinol products are liposomals. So it helps to improve its ability to be penetrated through the dermis, or the epidermis down to the dermis, so that it can have its localized effects. So think of what we're doing here is very, very similar. So what is a liposome? A liposome is a phospholipid bilayer encasing the nutrients. So they're tiny little spherical engineered nanostructures that are made up of this phospholipid layered membrane around an aqueous core. So both hydrophilic and lipophilic active ingredients can be incorporated into them, and they are absorbed in design from our specific product to be put within underneath the tongue, so sublingually. They can be absorbed through the buccal mucosa. straight through to our blood vessels so they can get into systemic circulation that way. And whatever isn't absorbed in the mouth will obviously be swallowed. And when in systemic circulation, it can actually attach itself to the side of a cell and penetrate very easily and effectively through the cell receptors.
Yeah, so there's no need for any intervention by the liver to metabolize anything or any of the enzymes to do anything. It's a straight absorption method, which I love, right? Because that means we probably don't need to take as much, and our body will take what it needs as it needs it, I would guess.
Definitely. So data indicates that liposomal technology improves bioavailability up to about 900%. So it's quite significant. The particular product that we're working with is a patented technology called Plexosome. So the Plexosome liposomes are really well engineered. So they're clearly visible when you look at them under a transmission electron microscope. You can see the structures are there, whereas I guess not all liposomals are created equal. There are some products out there that are just literally slurries of oil and water, so they haven't been, engineered to be true liposomes. The good thing about the technology is we've seen that when you take a product in a liposomal format, it allows for a 40% lower dose, at least, than an equivalent product to have the exact same therapeutic benefit. So you can have smaller doses delivered more effectively.
Yeah, and I was hoping we could touch on each of the ones that are currently in the range. I'm sure there's going to be more, and I really can't wait. But in the range that you have now, there's a beauty collagen complex with astaxanthin, there's a nicotinamide riboside, there's a vitamin C, and then there's a vitamin D3 and K2. So I'm really excited to talk about nicotinamide riboside out of all of these. I mean, they're all wonderful formulas, but that one's my wow, because I'm a huge follower of a guy called Professor David Sinclair, and he talks about the products that he takes. He happens to take NMN, and we can't get that in Australia quite readily, and I'm sure you'll tell us why in a second because I've got a lot of questions about it. But he takes things like resveratrol, transresveratrol, vitamin D3 and K2, and he takes CoQ10 and alpha lipoic acid, quercetin, etc. But I was hoping you could talk a bit about the difference between Nr and Nmn, and I have some knowledge, but it's nowhere near like yours. And from my understanding, Nr is what's absorbed into the cell, which then transforms into Nmn and then to NAD. So it's maybe one phosphate compound away from Nmn, but you need to have it that distance apart so it can be absorbed into the cell. But please, you tell me, because I know nothing compared to you.
I'm not an expert, but I've certainly done quite a bit of research in order to help support producing this range. So obviously, longevity has been the focus of much attention recently with a number of key opinion leaders, and Dr. David Sinclair has done amazing work to help raise awareness on how we can biohack our way to healthier aging, which is, something that humans have been obsessed with since, the theory of the fountain of youth was out centuries ago. So I guess where this all started is there were a number of animal studies where they looked at obesity and aging linked to impaired synthesis of nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, or NAD+. And then I guess it was highlighted that there was a role for NMN as a precursor to NAD, which was, identified may reverse the signs of aging. So further studies have been done in animal models to look at whether or not, insulin sensitivity and other sort of age-related physical markers affect our levels of our NAD and what NMN does when you take NMN. So, and it's obviously led to a massive resurgence of NMN products on the market very, very quickly. And it's sort of gone from 0 to 100 in the space of sort of 24 months. So here we are now. But to talk to the differences of NMN versus NR, so they're very similar molecularly. NMN has an added phosphate group. So this added phosphate group makes NMN a much larger molecule than NR, or nicotinamide riboside. So some scientists believe that NMN is actually too big of a molecule to actually cross cellular membranes, and it needs to be converted into NR, so actually the other way around, before it can be entered into cells, where NAD plus biosynthesis will occur. There's other versions of, of vitamin B3 that can also be converted into nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, or the NAD+. And noting that NAD+ influences more than just healthy cellular aging, it also supports DNA repair and immune function too. So it declines as we age. We know that regardless of whether or not someone's obese or not, we do have declining levels with aging. And it's been shown that higher levels of NAD+ is linked to healthier aging and longer telomeres and better, I guess, longevity or healthgevity over your lifespan. So NR has been researched probably the most extensively out of all of the B vitamin variants to support NAD+. We know that it has the strongest safety profile, and it doesn't cause any flushing like nicotinic acid does. So I'm not sure anyone has, have you ever had nicotinic acid? It sort of creates that sort of face flush. It lasts about half an hour. You feel like you're on fire. Yeah. It can be quite unpleasant, and it's one of the reasons why many individuals won't take it more than a couple of times. So compliance is poor purely because of those sorts of side effects, which NR unfortunately doesn't have. But I guess we're going back to NR versus NMN. NR has been deemed safe by the TGA because there's really extensive safety data against NR. We know it's efficacious, so the TGA would never allow an ingredient to be added to the permitted ingredients registry without a full evidence pack being submitted and being reviewed extensively by their team. So that has happened for NR. Hasn't happened for NMN. And I guess also for the audience's awareness, on November the 4th in 2022, the FDA announced that NMN can no longer be sold as a dietary supplement in the US. It requires FDA approval on a case-by-case basis because it's considered a drug. So I guess I'm not saying that it's not safe because there isn't any, I guess, evidence to say that it causes any adverse effects from what I've been able to sort of gather. However, the FDA is not saying it's completely safe either. So I guess from a safety and protection stance, the TGA feels most comfortable with NR, hence why we're able to use it. And given that we're seeing in more of the recent evidence is that the NMN isn't absorbed as effectively and has to be converted to NR first, it makes sense that you would use NR.
Okay, well, I do take NR. I take your NR every morning. And so I know that the older you get, the more you have to take. So I'm taking, well, if I wasn't taking the Melrose brand, I was normally taking 2,000 milligrams a day. But I've found that if I take 4 pumps, I have a similar type of effect, like taking 2,000 milligrams of a powdered form. So I don't know what that equates to, but I feel comfortable that I'm on a very similar dosage because of that instant absorption rather than having to be metabolized. So yeah, I love your product. I think it's great.
Thank you. We hope you enjoy the sensory of it. It's actually quite delicious, isn't it?
It is. It is. Yeah. And I'm quite comfortable. I mean, in our industry, I'm quite comfortable taking most things, liquid herbal extracts, etc. And this is very, very palatable. Okay, so let's move on to D3 and K2. What's the rationale there? Why put these two together? Because there may be some confusion still in the marketplace. Yeah.
I think there is. And look, there's not I think a level of awareness that needs to be improved on what the benefits are of K2. But effectively, we know vitamin D is really important for a myriad of reasons. We know it's supporting immunity. It helps as it's a precursor for a number of hormones, so helps with hormonal regulation, facilitates dietary calcium absorption. That's what it's mostly known for. And of course, we also see that it's effective in preventing seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, the SADs in winter. We've seen that vitamin D3 is not enough now. We know that absorbing dietary calcium is important, but there is an issue with calcification that can occur with age and increasing levels of inflammation in the body. But if we have adequate levels of vitamin K2, we know that we can moderate this process and ensure that we're preventing increased calcification. So vitamin K2 activates a potent modulator of vascular calcification called matrix GLA protein. And it lowers the risk of age-related cardiovascular decline because it lowers the amount of atherosclerotic plaque formation.
Got it.
So it's been extensively researched with beneficial findings from as little as 10 micrograms being consumed a day. And so combining the two ensures, one, that you're getting improved dietary absorption of your calcium. You're getting the antioxidant benefits of both nutrients. And they work so well together to ensure that your calcium is being shuttled into the bone matrix where it belongs, keeping it out of cardiovascular tissue or surrounding, musculoskeletal tissue where it can calcify. I just might also say that, look, there's a lot of evidence of the combination also being effective for children for a number of reasons too. And we're starting to see products for children consuming vitamin D3 and K2 together also, because we're seeing that the antioxidant benefits can be quite profound for young children for helping the development of their bones as they grow, healthy bones and teeth.
And speaking of children, when my children were ill not long ago, I gave them the vitamin C liposomals that Melrose do for two reasons. One was I felt confident that they wouldn't get an upset tummy. Even though I can give them a different form of vitamin C, my preferred option is the ascorbate. But I love that I didn't have to dose them so high, and I could dose them regularly. So I could say, come here, 2 squirts, and then wait like 2 to 3 hours and another 2 squirts. And, they'd just keep it in their mouth and then, have something afterwards. It was fine. But I felt really comfortable, and I did notice that they bounced back faster this time round as compared to other times where they weren't taking it in a liposomal form. It was amazing.
And that's great anecdotal feedback. Amazing.
And I read, I think it was something you may have written actually, that the absorption rate of when you take it as an ascorbate powder, for example, or a tablet, something like 14% absorption. But when you take it in a liposomal, it's far greater. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, certainly. So vitamin C is one of the most popular and widely used liposomal products globally now, because we know obviously vitamin C has poor absorption with high doses. So approximately 70 to 90% of vitamin C is absorbed at those moderate intakes of sort of 30 to 180 milligrams a day. And then as soon as you go above 1 gram, it drops down to the 50% absorption rate, and then the rest is excreted. So it makes sense that it's an ideal candidate for a liposomal delivery. And we know that, there are instances, when you're unwell, that you take frequent, regular doses of vitamin C. It'll help bring down inflammation. It'll help to support, tissue healing recovery very quickly and recovering from viral infections. So we're using a buffered vitamin C. So very gentle on the tummy. So great for little ones for that reason. Or anyone who has something like gastritis, and they've got to be very careful what they consume. And vitamin C is actually quite important for helping to recover from some conditions like gastritis, or any sort of compromised gastrointestinal conditions where they need support to heal the mucosa and the lining. But in terms of bioavailability absorption, so we know at this stage 40% lower dosage of a liposomal vitamin C compared to like a standard ascorbic acid. So in the liposomal form, that's been proven. And I think there's a lot of research still to come to see what its potential is and whether or not absorption via sublingually versus oral. So this is oral absorption we're talking about through the gastrointestinal tract. I dare say it'll be far more superior once we're able to do more research on what those effects are with sublingual absorption. But definitely you shouldn't need a high dosage of vitamin C, and I would be advocating for small, frequent doses for anyone that is unwell.
Yeah, it works very well. And you're not going to believe this, but I had an operation earlier this year, and I have quite a large scar, and I mixed your liposomal vitamin C with a little bit of just a base cream, and I applied it to the scar.
Oh,
and,
wow.
when you use some vitamin C products, it can be quite irritating on the skin topically. This was not irritating, and my scar has reduced significantly.
Wow.
Yeah, so I use it topically, not just
Yeah, well, they're certainly safe to use topically. There's no reason why you couldn't. So maybe a good segue into our collagen formula, which has been designed for internal and topical use.
Oh, please tell us more.
So I think our collagen formulation has been, I guess, or our beauty collagen formula has been probably one that's gained probably the most attention from the range other than Nr. So it's a blend of buffered vitamin C, hydrolyzed marine collagen, natural vitamin E, and astaxanthin. So we know all of these ingredients are completely safe for application topically as well as consumption orally. I absolutely love this formula. Personally, I've been using this one, both internal and topically. And I guess the combination is quite unique. So I haven't really seen anything like this on the market. And when we put it together, so Nathan and I, we were thinking about what do we need to do to, one, protect the integrity of our collagen, replace collagen, and support any of those processes that occur internally that can actually impact our natural collagen production. So we're looking at so vitamin C. Obviously, we know there's a lot of evidence for vitamin C in supporting the structures of collagen. Collagen itself to provide the amino acids or the building blocks to produce and create new collagen. And we know that marine collagen is sort of the gold standard when it comes to skin health because of the type of collagen it contains. And then vitamin E, we know, is really important for supporting against DNA damage. We know it's really important for cellular membrane health, so improving sort of the plumpness and I guess the integrity of all of our cells that will make our skin look radiant and glow. And then astaxanthin. So astaxanthin is probably my favorite ingredient. It's such an underrated ingredient in our industry. It is the most potent antioxidant or most potent known carotenoid, and it's known as the king of carotenoids for this reason. It's found in quite varied in a lot of different foods, but it protects against UV rays when you put it on topically and consume it orally. Obviously, I can't give it a UV rating versus an SPF, so please moderate this. But it is absolutely phenomenal in its ability to protect against the damage that's caused by UV rays. It repairs DNA damage. It actually it's been found to enhance the immune system. There's been research around what it can do with supporting the body's recovery when a melanoma starts to grow, which is quite fascinating. And I want to see research in this space. Wards off wrinkles. It definitely improves the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. It actually calms down eczema inflammation. So great for other, immune-mediated skin-related conditions like eczema and psoriasis and dermatitis. Protects against hyperpigmentation, so it will prevent excessive hyperpigmentation caused by sun damage. It's moisturising, and it's actually really suitable for sensitive skin too.
I love astaxanthin too. I've talked about it many times, and what I love most is that the liposomal form has something, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've read over 90% absorption, which is like amazing. That's like almost 100% absorption you're getting when it's in a liposomal form.
Yeah.
And I like that you use it topically as well. So I'll definitely add that to my repertoire because, anything to get rid of the lines.
I want to see how you're looking in about 3 months' time. We'll have to do it before and after.
I've really enjoyed chatting with you, Dion. It's always great to speak to someone that's always at the forefront of technology and innovation. And so when you're innovating these products, what else are you considering?
Well, I think it's really important to think of sustainability and traceability. The retail industry or the retail brands have been under, I think, extensive scrutiny from healthcare professionals for a number of years, especially when they're comparing it to other practitioner brands, because there's been this perception that the quality isn't equivalent to practitioner-only brands, or we're using inferior ingredients. It's just not the case in all circumstances. Believe me, I'm sure there will be brands out there that may not be as reputable as others, but what I've been trying to do with my healthcare professional background is ensuring that every product that we produce or develop at Melrose has a really strong focus on sustainability of the supply chain, traceability, so we know that the product is what we're saying it is. We know that we're buying really good quality branded extracts to use in our product. We're not ones that have lots of clinical evidence against them. So that you know that you're getting a really great product. I'm also always ensuring that we use the least amount of excipients possible, and they've all got a functional purpose. They're only in there if they need to be in there. For example, for free flowing, it needs to be flowing on the line, as an example. But we use excipients with the greatest safety profile possible. So we don't use anything that has any questionable safety or efficacy concerns with either practitioners or consumers. But when we come back to traceability, we want to ensure that we know exactly every single batch that we produce, where it comes from, how it was made, down to like the farm level. So we're doing quite a lot of work with suppliers that help farmers promote their farms. A lot of ingredients that are upcycled now. Every ingredient is assessed before we actually even put it into a production. So we take that little bit of extra step, which we don't have to with food products. We do have to with TGA, but with food products, even our food products are treated like TGA medicine. So we test every single material before it even goes into a batch to ensure that the integrity is there. And we've audited the supply chain of absolutely everything. So we know that there's no concern around modern slavery or, questionable integrity from any of the ingredients, where they're coming from. Materials are sourced from the most reputable locations that we can possibly access, ensuring that the quality is there. We're not looking for cheap ingredients. We don't want cheap ingredients. We want premium ingredients that are really high quality. It's really important because it's showing in the results that we're getting when people are taking our product. There are a lot of inferior, unbranded or generic versions of ingredients out there that could be a couple of dollars a kilo cheaper, but it's not worth it. If our health is the most important thing, we need to ensure that what we put into our body is important. If we're eating organic produce, why wouldn't you want your supplements to be of equivalent quality? So that has been really important to me, and I hope you all enjoy the benefits of taking Melrose products, because we put that love and care behind our formulations. Big team effort, but we've done a great job as a team. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come and talk about our new range, and we really hope that we start making a bit more of a difference in consumers and health practitioners' lives by being able to access products like this that are innovative. And rest assured, there's quite a few other innovative concepts that are in the pipeline that we'll be launching soon. So keep an eye out.
Good luck with whatever holds for you in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.